Really? Nothing you can do? Pray tell, Sheriff, did your guys even have active shooter training? Do they know how to breach a door? Do they know not to be afraid to engage a shooter? Do they even have the appropriate equipment like a steel-plated ballistic rifle vest and a helmet that can easily take an AR-15 round? Instead, they hide like wusses, waiting for the cavalry to arrive. The first priority on an active school shooting is to stop the killing. You don't wait for the SWAT team. You don't hide behind a car. If you're armed, whether as a school resource officer or a first patrol officer, you go after and engage the shooter. But this week, we found out 4 sheriff's deputies hid behind a police car as Nicholas Cruz, an armed assassin with an AR-15, slaughtered 17 at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Now, Byrd County Sheriff Scott Israel says he was outraged and surprised when he saw the video of one of his deputies doing nothing as innocents were massacred. Surprised? Why didn't you know about this on the night of the killings? Did you not set up a mobile command center, a unified command center where officers from multiple agencies go back to the command post to brief on what has happened? Do you not know any of this because you were too busy making media rounds, deflecting and redirecting the outrage and fury that should have been directed at you by your going after instead the NRA and Dana Lash? Believe me, there's enough blame to go around, but you and only you had an officer assigned to that school, Sheriff Cruz, Sheriff Israel, whose job was to protect children. So why only 2 days ago did we find out what you had to know the night of the shooting? Neighboring police department Coral Springs, they were outraged at the failure and dereliction of duty on the part of your officers. Coral Springs provided the necessary mutual assistance by immediately storming the school. They are the unsung heroes here. They were shocked your deputies were hiding behind their cars. In fact, the Coral Springs police chief wrote, quote, another agency has given the impression it provided the majority of rescue efforts, but the truth will come out in time. Well, chief, the truth is out. It was Coral Springs Department that arrested the dirtbag shooter. Cruz came out of a blue and white and not a green and white. Now, I've been in law enforcement for 3 decades, and you don't have to be a cop to know that those who carry a gun and wear a badge are sworn to protect the innocent. But we shouldn't be surprised, Sheriff, that your deputies didn't storm and engage an active shooter, given what you've said in the past. You actually said if you have a lone wolf assassin, and this is your quote, there's nothing you can do. Really? Nothing you can do? Pray tell, Sheriff, did your guys even have active shooter training? When was the last time you did an active shooter drill? Do they know how to breach a door like Coral Springs did when they got there? Do they know not to be afraid to engage a shooter? Do they even have the appropriate equipment like a steel-plated ballistic rifle vest and a helmet that can easily take an AR-15 round? Instead, they hide like wusses, waiting for the cavalry to arrive as if the suspect were barricaded and nothing was happening. Coral Springs knew to immediately engage and use bolt cutters on the fences to go through locked doors to carry the kids out. And, Sheriff, you don't know when people are dying. You immediately breach, enter, and engage. But beyond that, Sheriff, it's even more outrageous. Your department got 18 calls about Cruz, his violence, his threats to shoot up the school before he actually followed through and killed 17 people. These warnings concerned everyone, it seems, but you. When you had the power under the Florida Bakers Act to have this kid involuntarily committed for a psychiatric assessment, you did nothing. How dare you trumpet your handling of this situation, hiding what your officers did and blaming others? The buck stops with you. But then again, Sheriff, you're the bozo who couldn't figure out how to police, admitting that you failed to seize control and set up an effective command center after the deadly shooting at the Fort Lauderdale airport. You yourself were highlighted for a lack of leadership. I spoke with a sheriff today who said, well, maybe their walkie-talkies didn't work, or maybe they didn't know whether the shooter was on the first floor or the second floor. Hogwash. I don't care if the shooter was on the first floor, the second floor, or hanging from the roof. If children are bleeding out and dying and these cowards with guns are waiting to do what? If you can't figure out to advance and take out the threat when imminent death is undeniably apparent, where you could have saved the lives of the helpless bleeding out on the floors in the place of learning, then it's time for you to resign, Sheriff Israel, and get the hell out, or at the very least be recalled by the people of Broward County.